Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Toya Sagara Edasa Karuna Kori. Iyo Padachaya Shadaheya Maya Toma Toma Charana Dore Chaya Vega. Here, you sing there. Can you give this to him?
Chaya Shat Sanga Deha Hai Amare Chaya Sat Sanga Deha Hai Amare Voice Chi Shangera Ashe O Sechi Sangerashe Ohe Vaishnavata Kora Doyara Sagara He Dase Koruna Kore Pada Chaya Shadha Hai Amaya Tomara Charana Dhare Ohe Vaishnavata Kora Doyara Sagara He Dase Koruna Kore Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Thakur. Pandit Prabhu ki jai. Oh, you want to sing the whole thing? Okay. Ekaki amara nahi paya wala Harinama Sankirtane Tumi kripa kare Shraddha bindu deya Tumi kripa kare Shraddha bindu deya Deho Krishna Namadhane Deho Krishna Namadhane Krishna se tomara Krishna dite paro Tomara shakati ache Amito Kangala Krishna Krishna Boli Amito Kangala Krishna Krishna Boli Taitava Pache Pache Daitava Pache Pache Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Jaya Vaishnav Thakur Vaishnav Thakur. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai.
Okay, I'll read the translation. Thanks. All right. So, song from Bhaktivinoda Thakur, O Hey Vaishnav Thakur from Sharanagati. O Venerable Vaishnav Thakur, O Ocean of Mercy, be merciful to this servant of yours and purify me with the shade of your lotus feet. Your lotus feet I humbly hold. By helping me control the 6 urges and purifying me of the 6 faults, bestow upon your servant the 6 good qualities. O Master, please give me the 6 kinds of holy association. I have sat down here hoping to have your company. Alone I do not find the strength to chant the holy name of Hari. Please be merciful and, bless me with the drop of faith, bestow on me the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours, and you can give him to me, for such is your power. This wretch is simply running behind you, crying out, Krishna, Krishna. What's the 6 holy associations? What are the 6? Okay, it's there's 6 holy associations. There's 6 faults. There's 6 urges, and there's 6 good qualities. So you want to know about the different 6? Okay. So the 6 urges are those of speech, the mind, anger, the tongue, the belly. Yeah. The 6 faults are overeating or collecting more materially valuable things than required, over-endeavoring for material objectives, unnecessary talking of mundane affairs, being too much attached to scriptural rules and regulations, or too neglectful of them, associating with worldly-minded persons and desiring mundane achievements. So he's saying, please free me from that. The 6 good qualities, so this is what he's saying, please give me, are enthusiasm, confidence, patience, performing the regulative activities of devotional service, giving up the association of non-devotees, and following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. And the 6 holy kinds of holy association that he wants are offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasadam, spiritual food, from others, and offering prasadam to others. So he... Yeah. The 6 faults and the 6 good qualities.
He elaborates on each one of them.
Yeah. 6 faults and the 6 good qualities. Yeah, it's a great book. Okay, so we'll read about Vrikeshvara Pandit. We'll see what he's famous for. He's actually, it's quite amazing what he was able to do, actually. Anyways, okay. So, once in the house of Srivas Thakur, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sang while Vrikeshvara Pandit danced in constant ecstasy. For, you want to guess how long? That wasn't a guess, you knew. 72 hours. He danced in kirtan for 72 hours. That's quite a lot of dancing. At that time, Lord Chaitanya said, Vrikeshvara, I have only one wing like you, but if I had another, certainly I could fly in the sky. Expert at singing and dancing, Vrikeshvara Pandit always pleased Lord Chaitanya with his service in the Navadvip Sankirtan parties, which he joined from the beginning. The dramas at Srivas Angam and the yearly Rath Yatra at Jagannath Puri. Vrindavan Das Thakur said, to awaken the sleeping souls in the age of Kali, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to distribute the nectar of the holy name of Krishna. When he came, the kol, mridanga, and kartal sounded like thundering clouds. Absorbed in the moods of ecstatic love and chanted Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Sri Gauranga told everyone to chant the holy name of Krishna. Raising his golden arms to the sky, Lord Gaur Hari would dance in ecstasy. At that time, Vikreshwara Pandit and others would dance with the Lord. Chaitanya Bhagavat. By Vikreshwara's blessings, Devananda Pandit was freed from the Vaishnava aparad he committed against Srivas Pandit. Then Sri Chaitanya accepted Devananda Pandit as one of his own devotees. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu commented on this incident. Krishna has made his home in the heart of Vikreshwara Pandit. As Krishna dances in his heart, so Vikreshwara Pandit himself dances. Whatever place Vikreshwara Pandit blesses with his association becomes a holy place of pilgrimage more sacred than all the holy places. Certainly great devotees such as Vikreshwara Pandit, Paramananda Puri, Srup Damodar, Gadadhar, Jagadananda Pandits, Shankar, Raghunath Vaidya, and Raghunath Das were associated with Mahaprabhu from the beginning of his pastimes in Navadvip. They also faithfully served the Lord when he moved to Nilachala Dham, Jagannath Puri. Vikreshwara Pandit established deities of Shishi, Radha, Kant, and Kashi Mishra's house next to the Gambhir in Jagannath Puri. Kavi Karnapur says Vikreshwara Pandit is an incarnation of... Does anybody remember? No? Okay. Aniruddha of Chaturvyuha. Vikreshwara Pandit initiated Gopal Guru Goswami and many others in Orissa. Dhyan Chandra, a disciple of Gopal Guru Swami, says in his books that Vikreshwara Pandit is an incarnation of Tunga Vidya Sakhi, an expert singer and dancer serving as one of Srimati Radharani's Asta Sakhis. His samadhi is in the 64 samadhis area. Tunga Vidya. Was it? Yes. Where is that Radha Damodar temple? Oh, really? There is a lot of samadhis surrounding Radha Damodar, so I could believe that there's 64 there because they're all over. Huh? Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot there. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. All right, so we're making our way through the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we're on the 14th chapter, the story of King Vena. Text 1. Maitre Vacha Brigvadaste Munayo Lokanam Chema Darshanaha Goptar Yasadivai Nirnam Pashyanta Pashusamyatam Maitre Vacha Brigvadaste Muniyo Lokanam Chema Darshanaha Goptar Yasiti Vainirnam Pashyanta Pashusamyatam. Please chant. like to chant? Lokanam Chemadarshanaha Goptarya Sativanirnam Pashyanta Pashusamyatam. Okay, word by word. Maitreya Vacha. The great sage Maitreya continued. Bhrigu Adayaha. Headed by Bhrigu. Te. All of them. Muniyaha. The great sages. Lokanam. Of the people. Kshemandarshanaha. Who always aspire for the welfare. Goptari. The king. Asati. Being absent. Vai. Certainly. Nirnam. Of all the citizens. Pashyantaha. Having understood. Pashusamyatam. Existence on the level of the animals. Okay, translation. The great sage Maitreya continued. O great hero Vidura, the great sages headed by Bhrigu were always thinking of the welfare of the people in general. When they saw that in the absence of King Anga there was no one to protect the interests of the people, they understood that without a ruler, the people would become independent and non-regulated. Purport. In this verse, the significant word is Chemadarshanaha, which refers to those who are always looking after the welfare of the people in general. All the great sages, headed by Bhrigu, were always thinking of how to elevate all of the people of the universe to the spiritual platform. Indeed, they advised the kings of every planet to rule the people with that ultimate goal of life in mind. The great sages used to advise the head of the state, or the king, and he used to rule the populace in accordance with their instruction. After the disappearance of King Anga, there was no one to follow the instructions of the great sages. Consequently, all the citizens became unruly, so much so that they could be compared to animals. As described in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, human society must be divided into 4 orders according to quality and work. In every society, thus, there must be an intelligent class, administrative class, productive class, and worker class. In modern democracy, these scientific divisions are turned topsy-turvy, and by vote, Shudras or workers are chosen for the administrative posts. Having no knowledge of the ultimate goal of life, such persons whimsically enact laws without knowledge of life's purpose. The result is that no one is happy. So, we'll read several verses, and because we'll get with the idea of getting an idea of what's going on exactly. So we'll read about 9 more verses. The great sages then called for the queen mother, Sunita, and with her permission they installed Vena on the throne as master of the world. All the ministers, however, disagreed with this. It is already known that Vena was very severe and cruel. Therefore, as soon as all the thieves and rogues in the state heard of his ascendance to the royal throne, they became very much afraid of him. Indeed, they hid themselves here and there as rats hide themselves from snakes. Purport: when the government is very weak, rogues and thieves flourish. Similarly, when the government is very strong, all the thieves and rogues disappear or hide themselves. Of course, Vena was not a very good king, but he was known to be cruel and severe. Thus the state at least became freed from thieves and rogues. When the king ascended to the throne, he became all-powerful, with 8 kinds of opulences, consequently became too proud. By virtue of this false prestige, he considered himself to be greater than anyone, thus began to insult great personalities. Purport: in this verse, the word Ashtavibhuti-bihi, meaning by 8 opulences, is very important. The king is supposed to possess 8 kinds of opulences. By dint of mystic yoga practice, kings generally acquired these 8 opulences. These kings were called Rajarshis, kings who were also great sages. By practicing mystic yoga, Rajarshi could become smaller than the smallest, greater than the greatest, and could get whatever he desired. It's interesting. We usually don't think about kings having the 8 opulences of mystic yogis, but here Prabhupada's mentioning. A Rajarshi could also create a kingdom, bring everyone under his control, and rule everyone. These were some of the opulences of a king. King Vena, however, was not practicing yoga, but he became very proud of his royal position nonetheless. Because he was not very considerate, he began to misuse his power and insult great personalities. When he became overly blind due to his opulences, King Vena mounted a chariot and, like an uncontrolled elephant, began to travel through the kingdom, causing the sky and earth to tremble wherever he went. All the twice-born Brahmins were forbidden henceforward to perform any sacrifice, and they were also forbidden to give charity or offer clarified butter. Thus, King Vena sounded kettle drums throughout the countryside. In other words, he stopped all kinds of religious rituals. Purport. What was committed by King Vena many years ago is at present being carried out by atheistic governments all over the world. The world situation is so tense that at any moment governments may issue declarations to stop religious rituals. Eventually, the world situation becomes so degraded that it will be impossible for pious men to live on the planet. Therefore, sane people should execute Krishna consciousness very seriously so that they can go back home, back to Godhead, without having to further suffer the miserable conditions predominant in this universe. Therefore, all the great sages assembled together and, after observing cruel Vena's atrocities, concluded that a great danger and catastrophe was approaching the people of the world. Thus, out of compassion, they began to talk amongst themselves, for they themselves were the performers of the sacrifices. Purport. Before King Vena was enthroned, all the great sages were very much anxious to see the welfare of society. When they saw that King Vena was most irresponsible, cruel, and atrocious, they again began to think of the welfare of the people. It should be understood that sages, saintly persons, and devotees are not unconcerned with the people's welfare. Ordinary karmis are busy acquiring money for sense gratification, and ordinary jnanis are socially aloof when they speculate on liberation. But actual devotees and saintly persons are always anxious to see how the people can be made happy, both materially and spiritually. Therefore, the great sages began to consult one another on how to get out of the dangerous atmosphere created by King Vena. When the great sages consulted one another, they saw that the people were in a dangerous position from both directions. When fire blazes on both ends of a log, the ants in the middle are in a very dangerous situation. Similarly, at the time, the people in general were in a dangerous position due to an irresponsible king on one side and thieves and rogues on the other. Thinking to save the state from irregularity, the sages began to consider that it was due to a political crisis that they made Vena king, although he was not qualified. But alas, now the people were being disturbed by the king himself. Under such circumstances, how could the people be happy? So we'll read the purport and we'll stop there. So tomorrow will be text 10. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 18.5, it is stated that even in the renounced order, one should not give up sacrifice, charity, and penance. The brahmacharis must perform sacrifices, the grihastas must give in charity. In those in the renounced order of life, the vanaprasthas and sannyasis must practice penance and austerities. These are the procedures by which everyone can be elevated to the spiritual platform. When the sages and saintly persons saw that King Vena had stopped all these functions, they became concerned about the people's progress. Saintly people preach God consciousness or Krishna consciousness because they are anxious to save the general populace from the dangers of animalistic life. There must be a good government to see that the citizens are actually executing their religious rituals, and thieves and rogues must be curbed. When this is done, the people can advance peacefully in spiritual consciousness and make their life successful. Om Gantivarandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshulanmaditam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukham Kadivachalam Bhangam Langate Gurum Yatkipatamaham Vande Shri Gurun Diditaninam Bhansha Kapdarubhishta Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama. Could somebody please get me some water? Thanks, Glenn. So, they installed Vena, King Vena, Vena Maharaj, because, they needed a ruler. Vena's father accepted sannyas. Anga Maharaj accepted sannyas. He went out to the forest because he was so disappointed, disheartened from his from his terrible son. So he just left, young King Anga. So then the sages and Brigu and other sages are thinking, okay, well, what are we going to do now? So let's install Vena. So blind uncle's better than no uncle, apparently. So let's install King Vena. So then that's what they did. They installed King Vena. And over time, so this is an interesting point that a bad leader's better than no leader. A bad leader's better than no leader. Because even a bad leader, I mean, Vena was quite a horrible person, but even him, he was doing some good. And what was that? All the rogues and thieves were hiding. It said like rats hiding from a snake, because they understood if we act out of line, King Vena's gonna kill us. So they understood that he's gonna punish us. So even King Vena, although he was a bad king, still he was doing good. Now, although that's the case, a bad king's never better than no king, still, at one particular point, there's a point where it's just too much. And this is what the sages are coming to the conclusion of, that this is just too much. This person is completely acting out of line. And it describes some of the things he's doing. He says here, he started to think himself very great, and specifically he says greater than anyone else. It's not just he thought himself great, saying, oh, I'm great, but I'm greater than anybody else. And anybody else means that's a lot of people. So he was thinking he was supreme, practically speaking. And later on in these verses, it actually says that he claims to be God. I'm just going to drink a little bit. It says he claims to be God. So that's quite a claim. This is what Vena. So in other words, Vena is going completely insane. And so he's saying he's greater, and he started to insult great personalities. So once one starts to insult great personalities, they might as well just consider themselves finished. Whatever it says in the Bhagavatam, like about King Kamsa. King Kamsa, in relation to him, because he was also a bad king, he ordered all the children of the villages and neighboring village where Krishna is said to appear to be killed, because he thought, oh well, any of them might be Krishnas, we'll just kill them all. Similar things in the Bible also. Interesting correlation there. So it says in the Bhagavatam that one who insults great personalities or offends great personalities, it says that anything they have which is good, it all diminishes. So longevity of life, which generally people think is good, right? Who want to extend their life, that diminishes. Good qualities, opulence, everything diminishes that people consider as good by offending great personalities. So that's what King Vena was doing. He's offending great personalities. And then it says that he stopped all the the charity. All the charity. He stopped the sacrifices with clarified butter. He just stopped all religious rituals. So this is a demoniac tendency of the materialistic peoples. They want to stop religious activities. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that there are places in the world now that, things are controlled in that way, that you can't engage in, at times, any religious rituals, or it's very restricted what type of religious rituals you're able to engage in. Like, in other words, if the government doesn't agree with the religious rituals that you're engaging in, then they won't let you do it. And if you do it, then they could punish you. You go to jail, you have to pay fines, etc. Like, we had Russia, right? There's a big... I don't exactly know the situation right now, but at least in the early days of Russia, devotees were completely underground. They're writing books. You couldn't print the books; you had to write them by hand, and the government was punishing them, and so on. They have that book, Salted Bread. It's quite an intense book. You read that book? Has anybody read Salted Bread here? You read a little bit? Where is it? Upstairs? Is it upstairs? Okay. Yeah, it talks about these devotees trying to spread Krishna consciousness in Russia in the early days, and anyways, it's quite intense. But they're all put in prison, and they're punished, and he goes into all of it because the person who's writing the book was there, so he goes into all of it, and the punishment and this and that. It's quite but eventually Krishna consciousness is established, and they're able to build temples, and so many devotees are coming from Russia now. If you go to India, it's like you're going to Russia. You go to Mayapur, it's like you might as well just go to Russia, because there's thousands of Russians. Yeah, Moscow poor. Mayapur, Moscow poor. I mean, they're nice. I was just telling devotees, next time I'm not going to go to India, I'm just going to go to Russia, because there's so many Russians. A few Americans, a lot of Russians, a lot of Indians, but of course we're not the body, but whatever. So yeah, the world, the people, the governments, they try to check these things. They try to control these things. So yeah, he stopped the sacrifices, and then the sages they were considering this. Okay, he's stopping the sacrifices. People are feeling disturbed by this, and then they're concluding that just like ants are in the middle of a log, the poor citizens have King Vena on one side, and then they have rogues and thieves on the other. So the poor citizens are suffering, like it's just considered like blazing fire on both sides of the log. So then they're thinking, okay, well, what should we do about this? And Prabhupada mentions in this purport, he says that great sages, saintly persons, they're always concerned. They're always concerned with the welfare of others. So this is a good sign that we're making some advancement, that we feel concern for others. And also, charity starts at home. I mean, to feel concern for others and to abuse consciously or subconsciously or mistreat devotees who you could say we're living with or who we're associating with. How are we going to extend ourselves to the non-devotees who need Krishna's mercy? So charity starts at home. So in other words, we should be caring about devotees as well, not just non-devotees. Both. We should care about both. So this is a sign that we're making spiritual advancement. And as Srila Prabhupada mentions here, karmis, ordinary karmis, are busy acquiring money for sense gratification. And jnanis are socially aloof when they speculate on liberation, but actual devotees and saintly persons are always anxious. So jnani tendency is just to be aloof, just to be aloof from this world, run off into a cave and meditate. This is a jnani tendency, or a tendency to get free from the miseries of this world. And a karmi tendency is just to make money and gratify our senses, right? So the devotee tendency, Prabhupada says here, is that we care for people in general, and we care for devotees and non-devotees, and we try to extend ourselves. So this is what the sages were thinking, that what are we going to do about this situation? It's a horrible situation. So they consulted one another. And they're saying, due to this state of irregularity, the sage began to consider that it was due to political crisis that they put Vena Maharaj on the throne. But now they're thinking, now we have to remove him. He has to be removed. Why? Because he's just insane. And he is just wrong. He is sinful. He's insane. He's demoniac. So we have to remove him. And then in the next few verses, we are going to be hearing about how they removed him, which is quite interesting. How they removed him. So, in the point of the sages thinking about all these things is that how will people be happy if they have Vena as a king? They can't be happy. Now, of course, we have our governments all over the world, and sometimes it's difficult for devotees. But luckily, our government in America doesn't give much trouble to us. Doesn't give much trouble to us. That's good. We're able to distribute books. Actually, in America, it said that this is one of the most free countries in relation to free speech. So devotees have opportunity to go and distribute Prabhupada's books all over the campuses of America. While in other countries, it's challenging, actually. So we don't have much trouble from our government, which is good. We have freedom of speech, and we could wear certain things and say certain things, and it's not a problem. We're not going to get punished or penalized for it. So we should take advantage of that, and we should be grateful for that, actually. That we're not living in a suppressed government in which you're trying to unnecessarily control us. It's actually quite nice. I mean, we could practically say anything on this mic and nothing's going to happen. I mean, some countries you say things on mic and they'll find you and punish you for it. So it's quite nice. Of course, there's some downside to it too. I mean, that means anybody and everybody could just say any horrible nonsensical thing they want, but anyways, it's positive and negative. Although Srila Prabhupada did say that, he said if the government, if the leaders of this world knew what I was doing, he said they would lock me up. They consider me a very dangerous personality. So they're thinking of how to make people happy. That's what they're thinking of, the sages and saintly persons. And therefore they preach. And the whole idea is to try to convince people dispel all of their doubts and their illusions and misconceptions about reality, and try to help them become situated in Krishna consciousness by teaching them practically how to engage in Krishna consciousness, and also the necessity of rising above the animalistic platform. And that's what Lord Rishabhadev says. He says, Nayam deho deha bhajam niloke kashtan karman ahite vidbhajamya tapo divyam. So by engaging in Krishna consciousness, divine austerity, waking up early, chanting one's rounds, controlling one's senses and mind, all these things that we're trying to do and that we're doing, that's tapodivyam, divine austerity. And by that, one can attain the transcendental platform and enjoy unending happiness. So therefore, Rishabhadeva saying, don't be like the hogs and dogs who are simply engaged in sense gratification and eating all types of abominable things indiscriminately, but you should engage in tapodivyam, divine austerity, by which one can attain unending happiness. So this is what the sages are interested in, trying to convince people of this. So we should also be interested in that. When we hear about sages and saints and saintly personalities and devotees, we should want to be like them. And it is possible to be like them, provided we just change some of our desires. But of course, we shouldn't think ourselves sages and saintly persons and all of that, but at least we should try to be like that. And by being like that, we're actually able to do a lot. We could help people advance peacefully in spiritual consciousness and then make their lives successful. So this is what the sages are thinking about. And again, in the next few verses, we're going to hear how Vena Maharaj is kicked off the stage. A very, very dramatic and interesting way, how he's kicked out. So we'll hear about that soon. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Zach?
Turned to a random page in the songbook at the start of the class just when you were mentioning it, and I thought it was kind of nice because it's Prabhupada's mood. In his Bhajan Krishna Tava Punya Have Bhai, Prayer to the Lotus Feet of Krishna, he says, as the vast mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu conquers all directions, a flood of transcendental ecstasy will certainly cover the land. When all the sinful, miserable living entities become happy, the Vaishnava's desire will be fulfilled.
That's nice.
Or a Sukha Sukhi.
That's nice. That's quite challenging, you know. It says when all the sinful, miserable living entities become happy. That's a lot of people. I mean, we have a hard time liberating Pacific Beach. I mean, sometimes devotees, they actually neglect Pacific Beach. They think, oh man, these people are just, they're all college students, they're all mundane. Forget about it. I'm going somewhere else. You know, I'm going to a sweeter spot or something. Which, okay, fine, but again, we have a hard time liberating Pacific Beach. So, what to speak of all living entities? But we could try. That's the point. We should try. Try. So, there's Vishnu. What's his Vishnu? Not Vishnu. Vasudev Dutt. So Vasudev Dutt, he's a devotee of Lord Chaitanya, and he told Lord Chaitanya, he said, I want that I take all the sinful reactions for everyone in the whole universe. Means everyone, all the souls in the whole universe. You just put them on my head, and I'll go to hell perpetually. I'll stay there forever. However long I need to stay there to suffer for every single person, I'll do that. So then Lord Chaitanya said that by hearing Vasudev Dutt's statement, he said his heart was breaking because he was so impressed and so just amazed by Vasudev Dutt's statement. So so then he told Vasudev Dutt, your wish will be fulfilled. Not that, you know, all the sinful reactions going ahead, you have to go to hell, but that everybody in the whole universe will become liberated. And they'll all go back to Godhead. And you don't have to suffer for them. So that's what happened. It said that the whole universe was emptied out. And they all went back to Godhead. That's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada said in that particular purport that Vasudev Dutt, this mood of mercy he had was quite amazing and practically speaking never seen before. I mean, even Chaitanya Charitamrita, you don't hear things like that. He's very special in that regard. And it says that he's an incarnation of Prahlad Maharaj, who's merciful to the living entities. And Srila Prabhupada once was asked by Harikesh Das, Prabhupada, it seems like you're in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. Prabhupada said, yes, I'm in the mood of Prahlad Maharaj. So he's in the mood of Vasudeva Dutt, Srila Prabhupada. But it said in that purport, Srila Prabhupada said that Jesus Christ, the idea, the philosophy, the understanding is that if you accept him, Jesus Christ, then he'll save you. That's the general idea. He'll save you from your sins and you'll go back to heaven. And Srila Prabhupada says that Vasudeva Dutt didn't say that. He said that whether you accept me or not, and whether you accept Krishna or not, and you may be the biggest wretch in the universe, but I want to take the sinful reactions on my head for you. So it's quite an elevated position, Vasudeva Dutt. Of course, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, I mean, that's why they say Lord Chaitanya is more merciful than Krishna, because Krishna says, Sarvadhamam Pritija, surrender and I'll protect you. Where Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just says, chant the holy names and I'll give you love of God. Whether you know. So in other words, the qualification is very low for Lord Chaitanya's mercy. So Krishna, it's a little more work, you could say. Apparently with Jesus Christ too, but... You had a question?
Really quick. Thank you, Balarama.
Or comment?
Yeah.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Come by more often. You can move in next door.
Oh, yeah? The barber shop?
Now there's an apartment there.
Well, you mentioned Prabhupada's purport about the karmis and the gyanis, and how the gyanis are aloof and the karmis are interested in sense gratification. But Prabhupada also mentions how devotees and saintly persons are always anxious that people become happy, both materially and spiritually.
Yes.
So, obviously there's a heavy emphasis on the spiritual aspect, but Prabhupada mentions here that there's a material dimension that we can all be sort of pleased by, and I guess it's safe to say that it's going to come from being spiritually pleased also.
Yeah.
So maybe you can elaborate more on that.
Yeah, the idea is that Prabhupada, and devotees and the philosophy, the idea behind it all is that, we want people to be materially and spiritually happy. So, in other words, devotees need to be taken care of on many levels. So, there's a spiritual level, obviously, where they need spiritual instructions and they need spiritual practices and things that make them happy spiritually. But they also have bodies, The bodies need to be taken care of also, the physical bodies. And also the minds, right? So all of the different...
A place to live by the temple?
Huh?
A place to live by the temple?
Place to live by the temple, yeah. So everybody, they need to be taken care of. Srila Prabhupada was in New Vrindavan, and one devotee was there, one of the leaders there. It wasn't Kirtanananda, by the way. Another leader was there. And then Prabhupada saw some of the women, or Madhajis, or Vaishnavis, or ladies, or Devis, or whatever you want to call them. There, young brahmacharis there, or whoever, and he saw that they didn't have proper sweaters, proper attire, and maybe he saw that they were a little cold or something. I'm not exactly sure; it wasn't so clear, but Prabhupada somehow found out that they need more things to keep them warm. So then he asked this devotee, he said, he asked the women, do you have enough sweater, this and that, and they said maybe we could use a little more, and this and that, and Prabhupada told this devotee, he said that, you shouldn't wait for them to ask you, for their necessities. But you should ask them on a regular basis, hey, do you have everything you need? Because that's like an aspect of taking care of someone. Do you have everything you need? And then, on a monthly basis, do you have everything you need? And in this way, you're ensuring that, they feel like they're being taken care of, and you actually are taking care of them practically. I remember when I first joined the temple, I don't know why, but sometimes it'd be like a cold morning. It gets a little cold, you know, the marble floor, and it's a little cold, you know. So I didn't have any socks on. And it happened a few times, but Tirthamaj said, oh, you know, he'd go up to me, oh, you don't have any socks. You know, do you need some socks? And I don't know. I'd say, oh, well, I ran out or whatever. I don't know what was the problem. But a few times he like gave me his own socks. Oh, you can have the socks. You know. So just that idea of like that culture of care where you're trying to express that you care for people, not just spiritually but also materially. So yeah, that's why we want you to give your presentation soon on the teeth. How to take care of teeth. Adridarna gave he's a dentist, a licensed dentist. So he gave a presentation maybe 2 years or a few years ago about how to take care of one's teeth. So in the future, one doesn't have to suffer with root canals and etc., a lot of pain, and not having to fork over a bunch of money to the dentist. Or, anyways, having to ask people for money if you don't have any money. So he gave a whole presentation about that, you know, flossing and, you know, how to brush your teeth, all these different things. And he had some pictures, some visual pictures of, you know,
devotees.
No, it wasn't devotees' teeth.
There was some devotees in the.
Oh yeah, there was some pictures. What I'm talking about, the pictures of teeth gone bad. Yeah, it wasn't devotees' teeth gone bad. It's just, anyways. So yeah, it's an important presentation because who likes going to the dentist and, you know, having them drill in your teeth? So, anyways, that's what I'm saying. I think he'll give a presentation soon. And yeah, that's actually sattva. Sattva means to take care, to maintain. So it's actually important. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but I want to try to, you know, like Prabhupada said, this world, there's so much suffering as it is, you don't need to increase it unnecessarily. Like Guru Das, you know, ran out because Prabhupada was on a walk, and Guru Das ran out, you know. And then they were walking together. Then Prabhupada looked down and, you know, he saw Guru Das didn't have his shoes. And Prabhupada said, where's your shoes? And Guru Das, oh, Prabhupada was so eager to, you know, walk with you, this and that. And Prabhupada said, go get your shoes. He said, there's already so much suffering in this world. You don't need any unnecessary suffering. So that's how I look at it, is that if we take care of our health, which is important, then we don't have to unnecessarily suffer in the future and pay money, which is another form of suffering. So you have physical suffering, mental suffering by giving money. And also, so you could preach. Prabhupada said that you may want to preach, but if you do not take care of your health, even though you want to preach, you won't be able to do it. You'll be tied up on a bed, or, you know, very restricted. And that's the case, you know, with devotees sometimes. Their travel's restricted, so materially and spiritually.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.